John is with us from Washington. So, John, Stephen Miller suggested to you a menu of options the White House might pursue on its immigration ban. But I wonder, is it your sense that the White House is perhaps moving away from a court battle on this?
Well, it's hard to know. We've gotten conflicting signals from the White House and from the president himself, who's said both he's going to fight and he might take another route. So I think they're evaluating their options. One of the options to think about in this is not just the legal situation, which is that you face a Supreme Court with that might break in a 4-4 tie, but also this is taking up a lot of energy and oxygen that the administration, that deprives the administration from getting its message out on other things. Now, that could be a feature, that could be a benefit as the administration takes on other things, but for more complicated matters of policy, you need to be able to control the conversation. And this is one where, for the first time in a long time, even going back through the campaign, Donald Trump has been at the mercy of events rather than being able to dictate them.
Well, you also asked Stephen Miller how he could demonstrate to allies on the Hill that the White House was learning and improving. Why does that matter for a White House?
It's a great question. The reason it matters is that Republicans on the Hill in the House and the Senate, and even people within the administration, openly wonder whether the administration is learning the lessons that all administrations learn at the beginning. Being able to adapt is a crucial part of being a successful president, knowing where you've done well and where you haven't done well, and then changing things to meet those determinations. And on the Hill, they're worried that if there's no learning going on, that the future things they'll try to do on tax reform or on immigration or infrastructure or really any of the big issues will face some of the same hurdles and problems and difficulties that the White House has faced so far. And so they need a signal. And obviously, Stephen Miller is putting the best face on everything. But there is a cost for those who are not sure that the White House really understands where it has succeeded and where it has fallen short.
On foreign affairs, John, the president's verbal response Saturday night to the North Korean missile test was exactly 33 words. I know in your conversation with Stephen Miller, he noted that, of course, that message was delivered side by side, shoulder to shoulder with Japan's ally, the prime minister there, Shinzo Abe. But what are you watching for in the White House response in the next few days?
Well, usually on these things, the president comes out and condemns North Korea. That was absent from his brief statement. And so the question is whether the White House feels that's a message that needs to be sent. Then the question is what benefit do these words have? Is what's more important what the White House does in terms of putting pressure on North Korea, as Senator Schumer suggested, by improving relations with China or other countries in the region, sending the message to South Korea that everything's fine and that the United States has South Korea's back. The reason that's a little complicated is during the campaign, Mr. Trump, President Trump as a candidate, was suggested maybe South Korea needed to take care of its own defense because it wasn't paying its bills. Secretary Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, was in South Korea recently reassuring everybody, and that message has been sent. But you could imagine the White House deciding that President Trump should come out and just kind of clean that up. So we'll see what they feel needs to be said publicly. But then the most important thing is to see really what President Trump does with respect to China. We saw developments on that last week. Will there be anything new on that this week?
Yeah. Finally, John, in our CBS News Nation tracker, Anthony Salvanto highlighted a group he calls the resistors against President Trump. The majority of them want Democrats to oppose the president on key legislative issues. What are the pros and cons for Democrats of digging in, going for an all-out block?
Well, the challenge for Democrats, the biggest one, is that 10 Democratic senators are up for re-election in states that Donald Trump won. So the electorate in those states is more Trump-friendly, and so a Democratic Party that becomes defined by its most liberal and most obstructionist members and posture makes it difficult for those senators up for re-election. Now, there is a big and interesting debate going on, not unlike the one that took place in the Republican Party, in the grassroots of the Democratic Party, in which Democrats would say, no, it's time to stop trying to make deals or work with the other side. This is a moment for resistance, and that is the pathway to electoral success, that people will turn out for a strong and passionate message. And if that message is resistance, then people are going to turn out for it. So the Democratic leaders have to make a call here. And because it's a really interesting and not certain which way is the best way to go for Democrats. We know that for Senator Schumer, it's tricky because he's got people protesting outside of his house saying resist or resign. So he's feeling the heat directly.
A lot factoring into the political calculus. All right, John Dickerson in Washington. John, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.